What do you think sales and marketing is like in maybe 10 years from now?
If in the future everyone has access to the same AI, the same technology, then the thing that becomes unique is the person. So I see a world where the salesperson, marketer, whoever the case might be, your IP, intellectual property, your uniqueness, your own genius is going to be worth more in 10 years than it is now because the only source it can come from is you.
Here's the thing with AI, I believe. I think you're going to start seeing CEO AI burnout. And here's the reason why. Not every CEO or founder or C-level executive leader, business leader, started an AI company. There's very few people like you. Look at Michael Gerber's E-Myth, right? You're a baker. Now all of a sudden you have to learn AI. Now all of a sudden you got to learn payroll. Now all of a sudden you got to do all this crap. You don't want to bake anymore. You throw up your hands. You're like, I'm done. Granted, there's a lot of interesting things going on. It's pretty freaking awesome what's happening with AI. There's some challenging things, right? But it has definitely improved writing and our delegation IQ blueprint. That's you leveraging enriched data and generative AI. You spend 2 minutes answering 7 questions, you get a 10-page report. That's amazing.
We must have systems of trust, validation, and assurance of a whole sweeping constellations of actions, decisions, etc. And blockchain and Web3 and that family of technologies is really the only way to achieve that, including not just for individual people, but for corporations and governments as well, but for the individual person and for AI models as well and agents. It's Web3 primitives are the core of how it is that you would ultimately prove humanity or prove that model is the model that you thought it was. Those are some examples of why a new data economy and a new AI economy that is trustworthy and financially inclusive of individual humans, the data subjects, the originators of the resource of one upon which AI is trained and deployed at runtime. It's absolutely inseparable. It's integral. It's at the heart of it.
I think AI agents, which is just a fancy way of saying that these agents can interact with the environment outside their system. They can interact with search engines, with different platforms and pull all that data for you, right? In a very programmatic way. I think AI agents in the next, probably sooner to 5 to 10, but I think everybody's going to have their own personal AI agent, which in other words, is just going to be a highly trained executive assistant for you that knows what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, that has cataloged all of your communications. So it knows how you work, how you talk, all those things. And it's able to, if not predict or anticipate, but be able to act in real time. Right after that meeting, you had 5 to-dos. Well, 3 of those to-dos it already did for you. And the other 2, it did research and created tasks, reminders for you to do. So I think agents, everyone's going to have an agent.
I can tell you that AI is going to change everything. It started, but it's still in a very infantile stage, meaning the length of how it's going to shift roles and jobs. Everyone's jobs is going to change. Everyone's. No matter if you're creative, no matter if you're an analyst, no matter if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, generative AI and AI as a whole, it's going to change everyone's jobs. So how do I prepare myself? That's the question that I tell others. You need to stay ahead of the curve. You need to prepare yourself to really be able to bring the value that no AI will bring.
I think we're seeing some of this on the consumer side already, and that's going to be agents making purchases on our behalf and not really having to quote unquote deal with the humans behind the scene. So I think we'll see a lot more of that in the sales process. I think we'll see a lot more humans on the customer service side because I think that's the area when you have an issue, commercials make fun of this where they yell into their phone, representative, representative. And so I think that we often see staffing challenges in our customer service areas because they're overloaded and they're trying to put AI in there to save time and money and whatever. But consumers have so much opportunity to churn because there's so many more choices that I think we're going to see a lot more emphasis being placed on retention as opposed to acquisition because now customers can find all the solutions they need. They're going to ask AI for recommendations. They're going to ask their friends and they kind of want to go use the tool and get into the tools themselves or get into the solutions without having to talk to a human. But I do think we're going to see experiences become one of the most important pieces of the marketing process. So instead of just going to a conference, it's a conference that we hired a very specific singer to come and do a nighttime thing and the ticket's higher and it's exclusive. And when something becomes available to everybody, what everybody wants is a smaller group of people that understand them. And I think that's going to become true. And we're going to see a lot more of that as an opportunity to build trust and relationships that result in business.
In 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I think crazy things will be possible. You can talk to your pets using AI. This is actually happening now, not 30 years from now. Like people are taking
Tell
10
us
million
about that.
Yeah. So people are taking 10 million records of individual species of a dog or a cat, right? The video, their sounds, barking, their expressions, their movements, and seeing as they are in their environment, how they react to it. And many pet owners will tell you they kind of know how their pet is feeling. They don't need AI to tell them this. But being able to converse with your pet without Elon Musk's neural link, just because AI will be able to interpret what they are saying very, very closely. It may not be in like a literal English language, but you could literally prompt your pet and the pet can prompt you.
I don't want to be one of those doomsday people because I think there's going to be a lot of different rules, especially at the entry level. Because I think if I was a new marketer in the next few years, I'd want to be a generalist. I'd want to definitely understand how I can use all these AI tools. I think it'll be really tough to say I'm going to be a copywriter and I'm a very junior person these days. I need to be able to do all these different things. I need to know how to be a copywriter that leverages SEO. I need to be able to do a little bit of everything. And so that more generalist role, I think, will come about probably as right now, but even in the near term. I think longer term with marketing, Netflix has ruined a lot of things for marketers because everyone as a consumer thinks that whatever organization is speaking to them needs to know anything about them, needs to serve up the right recommendations.
I'm also very excited about these systems having access to tools, right? You have access to my email, Slack, Google Sheets, and I could just say, put this in a Google Sheet or make a PDF and send it to my marketing agency. It already knows who my marketing agency is. I can set alerts. So if my conversion rate drops below this threshold, post it to the Slack message or let this person know. And I think that essentially most things that you can train a person to do, you'll be able to train an AI system to do for you. And I think that you'll essentially be able to spend a lot more time doing what I think is the fun part, interpreting data, having the judgment in terms of is recommending 4 different things, but I know that 2 of them are not relevant. So I can train you so you understand now why they're not relevant anymore. And it just makes my life easier. And I can spend my time doing what I really love the most, which is business decisions, talking to clients and so on.
I asked this question to Siki Chen. He is one of those AI gurus. So I asked him, I was like, what universal basic income? What does the future look like? His response was, I don't know, but I think we will be able to ask AI. And he said, but here's the thing. Humans will always find a way to create status.
I don't think anybody knows where the tech is going. It could be full-on autonomous robots with intelligent brains, or it could be a slower evolution than that. And we could all just have these mini test bots. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be more like Star Trek. I have an optimistic
Exactly.
future.
I think the beauty is that LLMs will be your Fortune 500 consultant. So it really comes down to prompt writing and starting to dig into these challenges with very clear prompts, asking for very specific feedback and applications and messaging. The fundamentals of marketing are problem, solution, call to action. And we have to understand who our ideal client is, what their primary breakdowns are, and then we can speak to the problem, the solution, and the call to action. Yeah. And so the simplicity of marketing is really the challenge, right? And what we're seeing is tons and tons of bad marketing. I get 1,000 emails a day of discount, 50% off, buy 2 for 1 from companies that don't even have any headline, subhead, and value proposition. I don't care about you're saving me 50%. I don't even know what the product is. So we have to stay focused on who's that ideal client, what's the problem, what am I solving for them, and then making them a good offer for trial so that the value and the risk reversal is there. And then that it leads through the progression of becoming a type A best client that becomes a brand advocate. And those fundamentals are unchanged, whether it's the Stone Age or in Minority Report.
And what I see is a world where a sales rep could have like a team of agents they could literally plug into 4 or 5 different companies, because those agents use their genius and just plug into a technology, because it won't be that hard to do in the future. And they could literally sell for tons of different companies. It's just getting their talent in the right place. So I see that world where you'll have these master negotiators who are really, really good at building relationships, who are just plugged into 3 or 4 different places. And all they do all day long is just negotiate.
5 to 10 years from now, I can talk in the perspective of the internet, what we were talking about before with the authenticated and unauthenticated stuff. I think there's going to be a lot more work created from generative AI than we think. I think there's going to be a lot of work that's created from this discovery process of how do we accommodate all of our digital worlds around agentic AI that's taking control of my browser and doing stuff. They don't care about a scrolling carousel. They want to see like some mapping of information that makes sense to the agent. I think what will be interesting, especially if we have authentication that ties back to a specific individual, is all of the content that you create feeds into AI algorithms. And I think that there will be companies who pay people, give them a little stipend. You're texting a friend. If you're texting a friend, you're using your brain, you're creating new content. That content is original content. So you don't have this like AI algorithm collapse or whatever, where it's just
it's a photocopy of a photocopy.
So you see places like Perplexity that's paying content creation. But I think on a different level, you'll probably have companies like maybe like Google or something like that pays users. That's like, hey, if I can use your information to train my AI models, I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money.
I think it's so hard to predict 5 to 10 years from now. Like, I'm having a hard time right now predicting what's going to happen over the next year in terms of marketing, because it is changing so quickly. And so like in the near future, I think a lot of what we talked about, like strategy is going to become more important. Marketing leaders are going to become more important. Marketers are going to move from executors to managers. Teams will be a combination of humans and AI. And so like, I can see that far, but like, I honestly, 5 to 10 years from now, it just seems like a completely different world. I think about my kids. So I have a 4 and 6-year-old, like they're growing up with AI. And so one of my favorite things that I like to do with them right now is ChatGPT. They come in my office and they are like, I want a coloring page with this. And they explain it. And then ChatGPT creates a coloring page and they're watching it happen. And so like at 4 years old and 6 years old, like they're already playing with AI. So when they're 34, if we're talking about 30 years from now or however long in the future, like I don't know what their lives will look like, but it's going to be completely different.
I think what's really coming, even not in 10 years, I'm talking about in the next year or so, is this real-time ad development, meaning that I'm going to go on Facebook and there's going to be an ad for Audi for a car. And the person in the ad is going to look very similar to me, about my age. Maybe we'll know like stuff related to my income, about what the scene that they're driving through is going to be like something I can relate to. And then in real time, somebody else will go on and it's going to look similar to them and, their lives or whatever. And I think that every ad that everybody sees is going to be different depending on who they are. And this idea of real-time video generation, real-time image generation, I think we are 6 months, a year away. And I think that is going to be like what makes marketing wildly exciting, but also it's so complicated. But I'm in the marketing services business. I don't envision a world where businesses aren't going to need help navigating how to do their marketing. What we sell might be different, but they're going to need help.
I think we're all in our own algorithms, but I think rather than the channels that we're seeing now, it'll be personalized. So where we went from, there used to be 4 TV channels and everybody knew everything because it all happened to the same, to like 100 channels, then to social media. Now there's millions of channels. And so I might know about Mr. Beast or Mark Rober and you've never heard of them before, and they have hundreds of millions of views and followers. That's entirely possible now. But I think the next one is your algorithm, your AI will filter stuff or create stuff just for you that you'll see stuff that is completely made for you that I won't ever see or have access. I think people don't know what's possible now.
Yeah.
And the budget is just a tenth, and the effort is a tenth of what it was 2 years ago. So you can do cooler marketing than you think you can. And those are the people that I love to help, are the ones that are sitting there saying, man, I always wish I could have blank, but I just didn't have the money or the resources or the time to do this. But I always wanted to do this cool thing. Call me and we'll see if it's possible. Now, it might be.